YouTube is a very strange place at times. I have spoken about off videos from the dark web in a previous article, but in all honesty, those videos pulled up from the depths can be found on YouTube along with all kinds of wondrous things that make the platform their permanent home. There are a lot of videos and channels that have cryptic names and seem to not really make a lick of sense. The channel I am going to talk about today though does exactly what it says on the tin. Benjamin Bennett is a performance artist from Philadelphia who has been involved in stage shows and has recorded some rather strange tracks. The thing that has caught the attention of the YouTube viewers, however, is his self-named channel. He currently has 281 videos on the channel and every video is titled Sitting and Smiling. I hear you out there asking what happens in these videos. Well, as I said earlier, it does what it says. It's Benjamin sitting and smiling. Doesn't sound very interesting to start with, does it? So what if I told you that every video is broadcast live to the channel and are all 4 hours long? Yep. He really does sit perfectly still and smile right at the camera for 4 hours on a regular basis. The first video is dated July the 28th, 2014 and he seems to have been switching on every couple of weeks ever since. And yes, he is still going. He has moved house but he just picked a new spot and kept right on doing his thing. In that time he has had a couple of slight problems. In one episode he forgot to go pee before starting and found that part way through his sitting, he really needed to go. So he went to go pee right? Wrong. He wets himself. Viewers have pointed out the growing puddle you can see running from underneath him as he keeps that smile going. But the really crazy one is early on. Episode 5 has a special guest. He is sat there doing his thing when someone opens the door behind him and says hello. What does he do? He sits and smiles. He completely ignores the person behind him and keeps going. Was this one of his pals dropping in for a pot of tea? The postman trying to bring him a nice package? Nope. He later states in the video description that it was a break-in. The home invader was poking around and went in the room, saw him sitting there and I'm guessing it freaked him the hell out so he shut the door and left. Some people thought this was a staged event but nothing else that eventful has ever happened since and he is clearly very committed to the bit so it's really not that far-fetched to think it was probably real. Other than that, some pointed out that he has also happily sat there with a bug or something crawling on his shirt and never flinched when a fly landed on his face and took a little stroll. If you go and follow his channel you can turn on the notifications and you should get a bleep when he goes live. I have watched him sit and smile a couple of times and there is something even more unsettling about it when it's actually live. Knowing he is sat there right now with that creepy smile and his eyes burning a hole into my soul. The internet is one hell of a diverse place and it's filled to the brim with all kids of artistic expression. While this one might not be the most complex of performances, you have to admire his dedication. At first glance, it seems to be a form of durational art, which is more about the endurance of the performer than the content of the piece itself. For example, about a year and a half ago, Jay-Z rapped Picasso Baby over and over and over for 6 hours straight at the Pace Gallery in New York. In 1963, John Cage forced a bunch of pianists to perform Eric Satie's Vexations 840 times in a row because of a joke notation in the composition's margins. Perhaps the most famous durational artist was Teixeira, who did a series of endurance projects, including one where he locked himself in a cage, unable to speak, read, write, or listen to TV or radio, for an entire year. He spent another year living on the streets, refusing to enter any buildings. Another year, He tethered himself to a female artist by a rope and wasn't allowed to touch her. By comparison, Ben's 4-hour sessions of sitting and smiling seem tame, but his work seems to follow in the same tradition. I asked him to call me following his next session, which I watched intermittently during breakfast and then lunch. It was unsettling. He rang right after his video ended, and took long, 10-second pauses before answering each question. This is how Benjamin Bennett the creator describes it on his Patreon page. Since 2014, I have been live streaming and recording 4-hour videos to YouTube of myself sitting and smiling. I survive by spending very little money, so that I can spend the time it takes to make these videos. I don't like exposing viewers to ads, and I would like to go ad-free. If I can make enough money from this Patreon page, I will go ad-free. I do various freelance work in order to make money. Recently, I had some unexpected big expenses. Faced with the prospect of having to do much more work in order to pay for these expenses, and not being able to sit and smile very much at all, I have decided to reach out for patronage. Because I have learned to be very frugal in my life and in my creative work, a small amount of patronage enables me to do a lot. Any amount of money that you give enables me to devote more time and energy to sitting and smiling, and also gives me space and time to create other forms of work. In addition to sitting and smiling, I am also a musician, and I make other forms of visual and performance art. I intend to reward patrons with exclusive new work, different from sitting and smiling, which I will post here as patron-only content. My goal is to continue and increase the frequency of sitting and smiling, increase the quality of sitting and smiling, and to create new work. I am offering various rewards at different levels of patronage, so that hopefully, you'll get something valuable out of it in addition to supporting sitting and smiling.